Hey everyone, Meteorologist Tuttle back with you again, watching some storms out there across the very north part of the state and the very south part of the state. Both of those have at least had tornado warnings issued on them. They haven't produced a tornado yet, but they're pretty close. We're going to go ahead and show you those on radar. You guys that follow me on Twitter, apologize. The Facebook seems to be screwing things up, and so when that happens, it messes everything up. I got to restart, and sometimes that leaves the screen blank. You can hear the audio, but you can't see the visual. So if that's an issue, you can go to my YouTube channel or Facebook or Rumble for this short cut-in, and then I'll probably do a sign-off here soon. Let's take a look here at the radar. We're up here to northern Oklahoma around Ponca City. So heavy rain and some hail moving through Ponca City right now. The area that spawned the tornado warning is south of you on the south side of town by about 3 miles. Path of that is Caw City 755, Webb City 805, and then you have Granola again at Foraker. Of course, these same towns keep getting hit by more and more storms, so therefore you have the issue with some flash flooding to deal with. Let's take a look to see if there is any bona fide rotation within that as far as anything tornadic goes. Yeah, let's see. Let's back this up. Never produced. Had a little hook echo. So I was watching that. The hook was nice and pronounced, but like we've told you before, just because you have a hook does not mean you have a tornado. They don't always go hand in hand. Regardless, that hook did occlude, and now it's going through some restructuring right now, which is good. Obviously, we don't want a tornado, but it was close, just what they say, no cigar. Meanwhile, the tornado warning remains in effect for this area. So let's see. The wording on this goes into about 7. Let's see. Starts in till 7:45. Movement to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. This particular storm is located near Marlow. Tennis ball and tornado possible and golf ball size hail expected within that particular storm. So we'll see if it strengthens or gets its act together. As I said, it's having a hard time. I mean, it looks pretty ominous. As far as the visual is concerned, just a nice lower wall cloud structure, right? And usually when it gets pretty dark, you start to lose some of the daylight, so it gets harder to see some of the things in the storm. Let me see if Chance was on that. He said he was pretty close. Let me see if he got a stream back up. He messaged me a minute ago. Yeah, so he's back in pursuit of that storm. So he's going through the rain now, trying to catch back up to that section of it. So we'll continue to watch with him. Meanwhile, like we said, the movements to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour and about golf ball size hail expected within this. Probability of a tornado is at 30%, so not overly high, not overly impressive for this particular storm. And again, Ponca City in the west side of town, you guys are getting pummeled with that golf ball size hail. All right, so obviously a severe thunderstorm warning and tornado warning, kind of a combination for this particular storm. There's another stronger one that kind of moved out of northern Osage County here into southern Kansas. Had a little hook on it with a little wall cloud for a while. Did not produce a tornado that I'm aware of, but has now moved into Kansas. Of course, there's other storms in Kansas as well. Let's stretch back down from there. We do have some new development trying to get going here across central Oklahoma. It's having a tough time, and earlier, I said, well, there's something wrong here. The models were missing. Turns out it was a cap. The cap built back in this afternoon. I'm telling you, man, this is the thorn in a meteorologist's side. Let's go down to Frederick, southwestern Oklahoma. So down here, so we have those cluster of storms moving out of Texas, that big train. The northern storm has had a history of producing tornadoes in Texas. As it crossed over the border in the Red River, it did lose its tornado structure, but it has continued to keep its wind along with it, though, and with the potential for producing additional tornadoes. So they're going to keep the tornado warnings going in this area while we still have the whole overall broad rotation within it. So if you're in this section, let me zoom down here to southern Oklahoma, and then we'll do a storm track for you on that one as well. It's in this red shaded polygon box. Let's see, this one. Moving to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. Hail again to about 1.5 inches in diameter. TVS tornado vortex signature detected within the mesocyclone part of the northern end of this line. Now, keep in mind, we had a very similar feature that has this little S shape that moved out of Oklahoma into southern Kansas, and it produced tornadoes off and on for 2 hours. So if history repeats itself with this type of a setup in this environment, we're going to see additional tornadoes just kind of spiral along. You're going to have short warning ability. In other words, they'll quickly develop and spin in along the leading edge and rotate back in. So that's something we're going to have to deal with this particular storm down here in southern Oklahoma. This is getting around the Walters area where this storm is located. We can look at some of the wind field within this, see if there's anything showing up right now on radar, other than the general consensus of the rotation area. Let's see, that is over County Road 1780, I believe that was. And what else did we have? 1770, the North Road. My mouse is acting up. 1770, there we go. And 2640. All right, so there's that little bitty guy right there. Not very strong, but that is the area of circulation, which will probably have a nice wall cloud with it from that viewpoint. So this is down here just west of Highway 65 and north of 53, about 6 miles north of Walters at this point. Okay, so that is that particular tornado warned storm there. If you go south to near the Red River, east of Ranlet, we do have another little area of weak rotation in this zone with tornado vortex signatures. This is hugging the Red River literally, passing north of Byers, running right over the river bottom. While Rika coming in about 7:59, Addington, Loco, Cornish, Ringling, Hilton, and Ratliff City, all here in the next, about hour time frame. And that's for this other section of the storm. There's many more storms that continue down here into northwest Texas. But these are the ones affecting Oklahoma City.
Twitter's not working.
Yeah, Twitter. Yeah, I told everybody. So those are late on Twitter that didn't hear. I'm irritated, trust me. So what I found out was Facebook changed their APIs, okay, like they usually do. They don't tell anybody. They just do it. They break stuff, and they don't test it first. So it ruined my login through my software that I use for third-party application to broadcast live multiple channels all at once. So I had to use the Facebook API to do it through their website, their webpage interface. Well, that thing is flaky, and it doesn't always connect when you tell it to connect. And when that happens, it basically hoses the entire down line of connections. So I have to kill it and start over. When that process of multiple trying to connect to Twitter, Twitter gets angry, and Twitter doesn't know what to do because it's looking for a signal for the video and the audio. And it at some points then craps the bed and drops the video but keeps the audio, which makes no sense to me. So the whole thing is a big circus that just so happened to happen this week. I found out about it, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I don't have a fix for it other than the fact just keep trying it till it gets to work right. So that's the solution down there. So again, if you're on Twitter, again, audio is all you can hear. You can go to YouTube, Rumble, or Facebook if you want to watch the graphics, etc. Until I sign off and sign back on, and I'll try it all over again, and we'll see if Facebook behaves, and if so, well, then we'll get a live video the next time. Probability of tornado down here, 65% around the Walters area, heading toward Empire City and Comanche. So again, we do anticipate occasional tornado warnings in this area going all the way here across south central Oklahoma through Pauls Valley, Wynnewood, Davis, Dotery, Ardmore, Loco, Velma. Off and on, this storm should be able to produce small transient tornadoes off and on just because of the embedded circulation of the strong mid-level mesocyclone with it. So that's something we'll be watching over the next few hours. Let's see. The rest of central Oklahoma is quiet other than we do have some light showers that have bubbled up. That's about it. The dry line did try to fire off storms in northwest Oklahoma. So let's go take a look at those real quick. So south of Woodward, Sharon, Vicey, they're very weak. They're going over into an atmosphere that just was worked over from prior storms. They were a little moisture starved when they started. Let me see if the atmosphere is even recovered in that area. Temperature-wise, 75, 68. Yes, it did recover, looks like. But there still may be a little bit of leftover subsidence from the morning storms. We'll see if these intensify as they work their way to the north and east. TBD. All right, back into northern Oklahoma with the Ponca City storm. All right, so this particular hook echo circulation feature passed on the southeast side. Never did wrap up for an indication of a tornado, but it did have just the mid-level circulation. So that's good, but it went through McCord, now north and east of you. So broad, weak, mid-level circulation in that area. Whereas Ponca City just got all the hail that went through on that side of the city. Additional storms up here in southern Kansas. And anything else in northeast Oklahoma? No, you guys are quiet for right now. All right, let me see here. So basically those are the two areas we're looking at. So if this Ponca City one doesn't wrap up here soon, then it won't even be in Oklahoma much longer. We do have an incoming feeder band kind of on the back end of this little enhancement precip that may end up wrapping back into the bottom side. And we'll see what happens. It seems to be a little elevated for a merger. We'll see if that does anything with the circulation center. But regardless, be in your shelters if you live on the east of Ponca City by about 3 miles. That's where that circulation center is located. Just north of McCord. About 1, 2, 3 miles itself on the northeast. Looks like the closest intersection coming up is Longwood Road, East Hartford Road. That's about the center of where that circulation is going to be. And then coming up to Caw City here in a little bit, a couple more minutes. We'll be approaching what's left of it, or if it intensifies, we'll see here in a minute. But that's what's happening up in far northern Oklahoma. All right, let's go back down to southern Oklahoma one more time. Okay, this guy here, northern end, our little spot here, still has some really strong inbound winds. Okay, so if anything tornadic, it would be in this little section around the county line. So we're looking at Highway 65, basically, and County Road East 1760. This is going to be east of Geronimo by about 10 miles and west of Duncan by about 15 miles, so kind of in between the two. This will head its way probably just to the north side of Duncan, so probably passing between Marlow and Duncan as far as that mid-level center of circulation. Let's see if Chance ended up getting anything. Okay, his video ended, so I'm going to take that as a no. He did not check back in with me. But he had a nice view of it, if you look here. So that was what we were looking at here south of Ponca City. So you can see a very nice structured wall cloud, little beaver tail coming in. And this is the lowering right down here where it gets hard to see the ground, right? You can't see what's going on under here. But that is where your tornado would originate from. So when you're pretty far away, it's hard to see if you have confirmation of a touchdown because we're losing the daylight, so it's getting darker. So the shadowing is a lot harder to make things out. So he was in a good position for this particular view. He just didn't do anything at the time. Let's get a little closer. Of course, sometimes you have to take roads you don't want to take, which removes your good view. And then he gets caught in the rain and loses the signal or just terminates it because he's not in a good position. There we go. He comes out on the other side. Looks pretty clear there. So he may have just lost his signal. Okay, so that was what was going on. And that was Chris Caldwell with the... Chance... Chris Caldwell. That was my my brain. That was my friend in Ponca City, our storm chaser at Channel 5. That was my default go-to. My brain just went back 15 years just like that. Oh, that was short circuit. Anyway, so Chance Caldiron, he's now up there right now. So that was his stream from Twisting Fury. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back to the radar. So we do have that little interaction coming in. This little cell is coming into the bottom of the hook. So let's see if that's going to do something. If we look here at the velocity data in this last frame, it seems to try to get a little better organized in this little spot here, which is where the potential tornado would be located. This is going to pass, looks like, yeah, a little northwest of Call City, between you guys and Uncas. Let's see, East Tower Road and Rocky Ridge Road. So East Tower Road and Rocky Ridge Road on the Arkansas River. That would be the intersection that this will be crossing over here in a couple of minutes. We'll see if it intensifies as it does so. Looks like they did extend the tornado warning for it. So let's take a look at the new update there. All right. Let's see. Let's do this. All right, so this particular path will take it to Webb City at 8:05, Granola at 8:14, Foraker at 8:16, Cedarville at in Kansas at 8:32, and Elgin also at 8:40. So those are storms up here into southern Kansas that continue to be somewhat tornadic at times, otherwise very heavy rainmakers, some hail with those. So again, a few, there's Neodesha, there's a little tornado warning south of you near Cherrydale. So there's been off and on storms up here that become tornadic. This one here, northwest of Cedar Valley, that's also tornadic. All right, so the one here in northern Oklahoma, let's see what happens if anything changes with the velocity data. Okay, so we do have a little better convergence and gate to gate. The winds are still fairly weak though, about 30 miles per hour inbound and outbound. So that's 60 miles an hour of shear total. So that'd be an EF0 tornado, for example. So we'll see what happens here in a few minutes if it tightens up. Let's see, the wording on this, moving to the northeast at 45. Probability of a tornado is at 58%. And so northeastern Kate County till 8:15. Storm capable of producing the tornado, moving northeast at 45. So very basic wording on the warning. Let me go in here and take a closer look. Yeah, not overly impressive. Coming up right on Highway 11. And let's see, moving now to Rocky Ridge Road. So the rotation is very weak, but that is the location of it. So just be in your shelters for a little bit longer. If you live in the path of this particular storm, there's not a lot out here. All right, matter of fact, let's just go take a look underneath. So there's the Arkansas River. And right now it's going over just a bunch of little trees. See? So I say there's not a lot out here, and I do mean that. There's not a lot out here. On the riverside, a little empty beach. Now on the other side of the river, looks like there are a few homes in this little like mini neighborhood right here. And it's probably going to pass just on the north side of that. Quail Lane and South 106 Lane. So very, very weak circulation. Let me drop down south to southwest Oklahoma again real quick. So our tornadic circulation center, there's a couple here. So one rotated back in like so, and is now here, what's left of it. Teeny tiny little indention there. That's right along Highway 65. It's rain wrapped. Wouldn't see it anyways. County Road 1740. Let's see. Yeah, so that's the old one. A new one may try to get going here. This is the old one. Very, very weak. I mean, terribly weak. All right, let's see.
Yeah, I definitely had cell issues earlier, but I do plan on getting out tonight. If there's anything that pops up event-wise, I mean, obviously they just issued the new tornado watch, so I'll be out tonight doing some nighttime spotting and chasing and so on if there's anything going on. So I'll ring at you through here if I see anything or if I'm on anything, and I'll be live then. So yeah, it was a nightmare earlier. I never seen so many out-of-state chasers and weekend warriors in my life in one area out there near Eakley.
Okay, James, thanks, man. I'm live now, so if I see something or you see something, I'll let you know. Vice versa. Yeah, so it's again another reason why I don't like to chase anymore. Just that sounded not fun. Okay, so anyway, down here in southern Oklahoma, let's see if they're doing anything on the radar side. So they're just going to keep the tornado warnings going for this northern fringe that's east of Geronimo, Oil City, Marlow, Central High. So, like I said, this guy here will be the next one that tries to get organized. So if you guys are in the living up and down, let's see, from basically Highway 7 intersection from there to 81, from that little point halfway between Marlow and Duncan roughly. From that point area, kind of plus and minus, you want to be in your shelters as this little wave starts to move in closer to your area. So there's a new warning for that. They're dragging it on that new circulation I told you about right here. It's trying to form. Let's see. They're going to give it a little bit more of a northward jog this time around. So let me look at this one real quick. When you got to split the state in half, it's difficult. Can't have ice in both places at the same time. Okay, so this one still doing what it's been doing, which is very weak. Little baby rotation. Passing between Uncas and Call City. Yeah, nothing strong at all on the wind aspect of the storm. Alright, so let's go back down south. I'm going to change radars. And we'll see what this one looks like. Okay, do I have the path on here? Yes. That is not the new one. I'm gonna do this by hand. Northeast at 25. Oh, this one here is probably it. There we go. Marlow 832, Rush Springs at 846. Okay, so that will be the path of this particular section of the tornado that will occasionally produce tornadoes. South from there, on this leading edge, let's see, Hastings, you're going to have some wind as the storm approaches you from the west. Nothing else I see stands out.
Hey, AT, I'm going to be watching, I just saw the new tornado watch that came up. I saw that 7 p.m. sounding out of Norman, which is quite alarming. Small cap. This is probably had a bubble cap right over OKC, which was, kind of causing those storms to, the ones that developed over OKC earlier, didn't really, they looked impressive, but they didn't really get going. I will be chasing this. Obviously, I got to be very careful. This looks like a night tornado event. That's going to be happening. I also noticed the storms near Duncan and Rush Springs. Those are heading more northeastern direction. I have noticed, the LLJ has really whipped in here. Just, at least on the ground, you can tell how the winds have really spiked. So, with that said, that's all I got for you. I will touch base if I do see something.
Awesome. Thanks, Russ. Appreciate it. So, let's see. I was going to take care of these tornado warnings first before I showed you guys the sounding that he had referred to. So I've done both of that. We're still waiting to see if this does anything, and by the time it does, it may be in Kansas. Has a pretty good inbound wind right here in blue. These are winds around 50 miles an hour. Just doesn't have any outbound component to it. So therefore it has very, very weak rotation. And looks like it's the hook is kind of starting to occlude, so it's a little disorganized. All right, so let's go find see if it's posted. Earlier it wasn't posted. Let's see if it's here. Yeah. All right. So earlier today, I was like, okay, where are the storms, right? Because the model said we're not supposed to have a cap anymore. And the midday sounding indicated that was the case here in Norman. Well, it turns out, I guess, this was a transient cap. In other words, that there were, as the atmosphere, of course, is fluid, temperatures wave through that were a little warmer and cooler, depending on when you took a sample of the atmosphere. This is why we desperately need a densely gridded atmosphere of soundings, which we will not get, which I talked about at nauseum the other day. All right, so this particular case, surface temperature of 74 and dew point of 66. When you factor in these two and you raise the parcel up right at that little yellow line right here, this little red thing, that's our temperature. So in other words, my line's a little thick, but basically it rides up here to here, and it rides this little red line right up through here. There's a little dashed line right there. I don't know if you can see it. But this right here is the cap. It's about 2 degrees. So bottom line is the cap built back in from the afternoon sounding. And as that did so, it put the kibosh on those storms from becoming tornadic. Remember, they were kind of elevated. And I said, there's something going on because the storms are elevated. It said, looks like a cap is still in place. So obviously there's some issue here. Well, there you go. Should those storms become rooted, however, they had a significant hail category, which means we would have hailstones probably up to 3 inches in diameter. The tornado index here was off the charts for a strong tornado. Let's see. Anything else? At this point, our convective temperature, let's see, does it have it on this one? Yeah, 83 degrees. Well, we aren't going to get 83, not at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the evening when they launch this thing. Our heating is over for the day. So bottom line is we're just a few degrees too cool because the models underestimated the strength of the capping layer. So let me do this. Let me load that up and go back to, did they do a 19 or did they do a 20? They did a 19. Yeah, this is a 19. All right, so this is at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Right here, we're at 76 degrees at this point in time. Convective temperature was 77. All right, which means all we had to do was hit one more degree, technically, and the whole atmosphere just go up. All right, storms everywhere. Now, we weren't quite there. We're 76, close enough. And if you raise this parcel up, we're right here on the edge of this capping layer. I mean, pretty much it's almost gone. I mean, it basically touches it. So it's about as close as you can get. And are you breaking the cap or not? You're like right there. It's like it's in an equal balance. So that was this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Well, apparently between 2 and 6, then this cap built in much stronger. And we cooled down the atmosphere a little bit at the surface from 76 to 74. So, therefore, it wasn't that big of a deal today, this afternoon, as the models had projected, because they, once again, busted on the cap temperature. And it is, trust me, it is a pain to deal with. All right, so let's go back to the radars. Let's go to Vance. Okay, so our little storm up here in northern Cade County is still trying to get a little better organized. I'm seeing a little bit additional reflectivity on the outskirts here for a little RFD feeding back in. So it's definitely a lot stronger than it was. The circulation is a lot broader. It means a little bit larger. So indicating a little bit of strength to it. Hasn't tightened up yet, but still there, still hanging in there. Weather Service has issued a new tornado warning as a result, because this one will soon end. It'll be out of its box and into another one. So let me see, and then we'll jot down southwest again here real quick. Okay, so in southwest Oklahoma, here is our tornado coming in out around the south central high region between there and Oil City, coming up toward the Marlow area. All right, so let's do this. They got a purple box, so I'm curious to see what that statement is on the warning. Didn't translate into this one. Let's go back. Sirens are sounding, looks like for Duncan. Or Marlow. Yeah. Clear Creek Lake. Alright, so they have a confirmed tornado located 11 miles west of Duncan, moving northeast at 25, damaging tornado and $half size hail. Well, that was 5 minutes ago. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They're talking about this one that was way northwest of Duncan. So not a threat for Duncan. So I was like, wait a minute, there shouldn't be a threat for you. So lost in translation on the wording. It really should have stated northwest of Duncan versus due west. That's okay. So that is moving away toward the Marlow area in Rush Springs. So you guys will be in the path of this northern comma head shape of the storm cluster that will occasionally produce tornadoes with it. This particular stage in the game, it is about Highway 7 and 9 Mile Road. That's the intersection of the broad circulation. There's nothing really tight as far as couplets go, but that's where that would be located. Let's see, down the line, pockets of hail and wind as usual. What's this little guy here? Noise. Holiday down here in Texas. Okay. All right, additional storms down there in Texas. Okay. Now, I know I'm just trying to cover most of Oklahoma just because I'm having to split the state north and south. So if you're watching in northwestern Texas, for example, or southern Kansas. Okay, let's go back to northern Oklahoma. All right, so this data has increased a little bit more. Okay. At 6,500 feet. Still just good circulation with it. Question as to whether or not we've had a tornado yet. If it is, it would have been small. So what we're looking for is a kind of more of a couplet where it's tight gate to gate. So in other words, you'd have a bright color here opposite of a bright color on this side. Instead, we have a large 1 mile area broad convergence and broad rotation. And that would be a tornado indicator versus this, which would be a nice wall cloud, and you might even get funnels out of it, kind of a deal. If you do get a tornado, it would be very small, very weak. Let's see, this is over this little spot right here, so nothing there. Good place for it. All right, that jotted a little bit to the north, then kind of fizzled. It split. We have a new leading edge circulation right here, which will rotate north back into this spot, and we'll see if it tightens up any. This is currently, is there a road here? Looks like there might be a road. Yeah, there's a little drive to nowhere. So just a little spot here, be coming up on Granola on 18 here again the next 10 minutes. And then back into Kansas it goes. All right, let me go back down to southern Oklahoma. All right, that little circulation feature is really weakened. It's extremely weak. Let's see, time. Oh, let me go this. There we go. We got. Okay, so this new data has one little guy right here on Highway 7 and 2790, and then the old one going over Central High, which is falling apart. So if you're in Marlow, it's about 1, 2, 3 miles to your southwest. So hang in there for another 5-10 minutes as it approaches. Stay in your shelter, lowest floor, away from all outside walls and windows. Bathroom, closets, stairwells. Ride it out. All right. So a lot of this is just kind of watching, right? Probability of a tornado is at 58%. The tail end of this stuff has really weakened. Probably because it's going into a stronger cap. So there's a new Mesoscale discussion for central Oklahoma. Let's see what it says. A new trader watch will be issued soon. Leading edge of large-scale ascent is spreading across the southern high plains early this evening. Agitated boundary layer Q field is deepening along the dryland over Texas, indicative of the approaching trough. Convection is expected to increase in aerial coverage into the southwest flank of ongoing southwest to northeast MCS. Then gradually shift east. 0Z sounding from OUN. Ignore the words Norman. Exhibited very strong shear, 400 square meter square per second squared. Storm relative felicity with capes around 2,300 joules per kilogram. Those slightly capped supercells and thunderstorm clusters are expected to continue an increase in aerial coverage later this evening as trough shifts east. New trader watch is warranted. All right. Okay. Probability of a tornado is still 58%. All right, wind speeds have come up a little, around 60, 65 miles per hour in this little area coming in toward Marlow. And this is on Highway 7 and 81, just west of there, by about 1, 2, 3, 4 miles. It's kind of a 5-mile line from here to here. So that's be going to the northeast. So that will affect you guys at Marlow. The actual weak circulation center is right over here, and it's nothing to shake a stick at. It's just in other words, the very low-level circulation isn't strong. It's the mid-level circulation of the storm that's strong, and that's what's driving the storm. All right, down we go. See anything else of any interest track wise. Let's go back up here in northern Oklahoma. So this stuff still couldn't get its act together. Let's see, data here. New data came in. A little better as far as rotation goes, but still not quite there. So you see a lot more color here wrapped in on the map. So in other words, still a nice broad circulation within this, and this is at 7,000 feet. Oh, thanks, baby. I heard that pop. I was like, I hope that's for me.
It was.
It's a good woman right there.
There you go.
Gig 'em. Don't worry, that's not a cold brew. That's a product placement. Am I gonna get paid by Coke to do this? Coke Zero. All right, I think that's her way of saying, "Honey, you're dragging over there. Pick up your energy level." No, this stuff is tiring. I will tell you that. Let's see. Okay, so this thing is almost into Kansas. Let me go back down to southwest Oklahoma. What I may do, since Twitter is still jacked up, I may sign off and then reset this so when I come back on, everybody's happy again. I think I've figured out what I have to do to make Facebook happy. But of course, I need the tornadoes to behave themselves to give me that break. This one here, west of Marlow, is starting to ramp back up again, of course. So here's your incoming wind and your outcoming wind. So very broad here, but that's usually how that starts. And it'll tighten up right here in the middle where this little triangle is. All right, new scan came in again. So these are winds up around 60, and these are winds up around 50. So together, you get about 90 miles per hour of shear in this area. So our little rotation product, you see that green expanding? The next color to come in is yellow, indicating strengthening rotation. Right. Make sure I got this updated. Okay. We'll see what happens in the next scan. Let's see. Let's go to location of this guy. That's North Road 2780 and Ballpark Road. And this is to the 1, 2, 3, 4 miles west-northwest of Marlow. So stay in your shelters for Marlow. You do have these strong winds right here that'll come at you up around, they're about 50 to 60. So not terrible. There's definitely been higher winds than that today. Okay. Now I've got some orange, or excuse me, that'll be the other color, yellow, indicating a continued intensification of the circulation center. Again, looks like it's trying to tighten up right here. Probability of a tornado is 37% and now 45%. So it just jumped up. So the algorithms are detecting this enhancement feature. So we'll probably have a tornado momentarily on the ground. So that will be affecting you guys just northwest of Marlow, between you and Rush Springs, along Highway 81. Let's see what's out here. These are, I wish I knew what these are. They're like little flat areas where they dump or store hay or something. I don't know what you'd call them. I mean, there isn't any homes or anything there. Down the path, there are a few farmhouses here. A lot of land, a lot of trees. So, sparsely populated area. All right, Neighbor Road and 2790. That's where the best convergence is. All right, so this is, let me go back up north real quick while we're watching this one. Let's see here, granola. The granola, making me hungry, granola. That little circulation center has now moved north into Kansas, so it has moved out of Oklahoma. Never did get its act together. Hopefully that's the trend it keeps with in Kansas. Tornado warning continues up there, though, so if you are in the Cedarvale area, once again, you're under your tornado precautions. That's, I think, the fourth time. I've lost track of how many tornado warnings you've had in this same spot of Kansas. I'm sure you guys are getting over it, right? You know what? Let's see what's going on with the rainfall totals up there. So this pink area that goes to red goes from 4 to 5 to 6 inches of rain. That's Call Nation. That's Maple City, Kansas. Again, that's flash flooding. Newkirk, 5 plus 6 inches between you and Blackwell. Tonkawa, 5 inches. A lot of flooding up here in northern Oklahoma today. This little stretch. So that's a little small area. You just unlucky. Let's see. Down here in Texas, same idea. Training here. Monday, Knox City. My goodness. 9, almost 10 inches of rainfall. Unbelievable. 7, 7, 7, all up to the border. Let's see. Drops off 3, 4, 5, 2 by the time it gets to Oklahoma. All right, so those are your 2 hard-hit areas of precipitation for flash flooding. We have more storms, obviously, expected to come in tonight and develop in this area and linger all night tonight. So a good 6-hour plus window of heavy rainfall. So we'll see if we get additional flash flooding over those areas. All right, so let's do an update on this warning. There's the track there. So this is going to pass just south of Rush Springs, this little circulation center, about halfway between you and Marlow. There's some good wind coming to Marlow right now. It's up around, well, it says 100 miles per hour. Let's see. Yeah, around 90, 92, up to maybe 100. Let me look at the height on this system here. That is around 4,000, 5,000 feet elevation. So that's not going to all come down to the surface. You have to subtract quite a bit from that, but still it's going to be pretty nasty. Let's see here. So let's do the mesolow is basically kind of like this. All right, so you have this wind field that comes into the system that wraps in as inflow and then wraps back out of it. There's a downward component of outflow, and so this cyclical pattern just stays there, and it doesn't stop because of the way the storm is built. So it just occasionally drops these straight line winds in either 5-mile stretches or little pockets like this, and these little eddies will rotate in on the top side, and then sometimes they'll get into a little baby tornado for a little bit, and then they'll disappear. But the whole thing is just cyclical, so it's just a constant wind-making machine in various ways. So a mid-level vortex on the northern end of basically kind of like a little squall line, a line up go wave pattern. That's typically what happens, and it's constant. It can go for a long time, and it's usually just little pockets of straight line wind. The tornado thing is kind of a secondary, but it's always producing wind. Okay. Let's go back over here. That big batch of wind is still moving through Marlow, now on the east side. Again, the center part of circulation features where there's one right here, but see it's very weak, and there's one over here, which is very weak, but those are passing halfway between Rush Springs and Marlow.
detected.
Let's see. V9. V9. All right. So TVS max shear height, 24,000 feet. Let's go take a look at this 3D. All right. So the supercell is about 50,000 feet tall. Embedded storm cluster. Actually, I hate to say supercell because technically it's not. Let's see here. How are we doing the rotation side of things? So there's our column. So the strong rotation center is at this level, the atmosphere. It's 20,000 feet. Okay, so that's the little engine that could. That's the driver of the wind that circulates around it. But the whole column is deeper. That's just the strength of the main part of it. But it does extend downward here in this blue shading. So that's it. That's the driver. All right, so the winds have come down quite a bit now that it's moved through Marlow. It's back down around 60 miles per hour. So there might be a little bit of a wind damage in Marlow. Let me see if it picked up any on the cross correlation coefficient with those straight line winds. No, it didn't. So well, if there was a little bit of wind damage, it wasn't anything major to get picked up by the radar. So Marlow's going to go out and look for wind damage. Okay, we got all new cells lining up here, I-35 corridor. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. So I can get Twitter up and running again properly. So I'm going to sign off. Give me like 10 minutes. I'm going to reset some stuff. Oh, Rumble's messed up too? I hate you, Facebook, with a passion of a billion suns. A billion plus a billion. All right, so I'm going to sign off. We're going to clear that, reboot that nonsense, and then I'll be back on. It's going to be like 10 minutes. You guys can get back and join me. We'll continue with our live tornado coverage across Oklahoma for who knows how long. It may go for hours. We'll see how it goes. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you here in just a few minutes, okay? Make sure you tell your friends and family if they haven't yet. They can tune in, and we'll watch together.